Episode 60 of ReZero Break Time. To be honest, I don't like the lore drops in these little shorts, but it does seem like a lot of the skip content is ending up in these little shorts, so I have to keep an eye out for them. But yes, this week's episode 60 of ReZero Break Time did cover the witch's cult. The archbishops actually meeting, not really meeting, it's more of the fact that Sirius over here is crying her eyes out and mourning the death of Petelgeuse, while all the other archbishops are making fun of her. And yes, it's like overall just seemingly just showing how much Wrath is just so into Petelgeuse, how much she's mourning, she can't let him go. But at the same time, there's little bits in here, like little comments that are made and just the environment itself that's telling me something. Let's start off from the very beginning. The moment the episode opens up, we get a shot of 7 mirrors. Now, these are communication mirrors, and these are what the archbishops apparently are all using to communicate to each other. Now, there's 7 of them. And yes, the assumption here is that each one of these archbishops, and yes, the witches themselves are all different, the 7 deadly sins. It's the envy, greed, wrath, pride, lust, sloth, and gluttony. Each one of these witches represents one of these 7 deadly sins. That's the assumption. Now, in a lot of stories, there ends up not being just 7. There's always an extra one. So yes, my mind immediately goes, wait, there's 7 mirrors, and there's an archbishop in the room. So that makes me believe, does this mean there's possibly 8? Is this them tilting the hand? There's 8. Now, it can be the fact that there's, yes, 7 archbishops, and then additional mirror for whoever's leading them all. An actual witch that is leading them all will communicate with that last mirror. But I still kind of, little flag kind of pops my head, like, could this be tilting towards there? But that aside, because we basically have met, 5 of the archbishops right now? I don't think we've met any other ones. We've met Petelgeuse, which was sloth. We've met Regulus, which is greed. Gluttony, Roy. Capella, which is lust. And then Wrath, which is Sirius. Now, there's still that wild card there, which is Pandora, which I'm still wondering who Pandora herself is. When we did meet Pandora, the only statement that she ever made to reference who she is and where she came from, other than the fact that, yes, they weren't too happy to see her. They're not happy to see her. She seems to be something that should not be there. What the hell are you doing bringing her here? There was a fear of her being there. Now, originally, I kind of assumed that she might actually be a witch herself. The only thing that she says is, in reference to how hard they're working, whatever, she says by the authority of vanity or something like that, which could mean, by me being an archbishop of vanity, I'm authorized to do this, or it can be me as the witch of vanity, I'm going to do this. But yes, vanity is sort of an oddball to be put into the mix of the 7 deadly sins, because again, vanity sometimes is referenced as being part of pride, but with just the archbishops that we know about, that leaves us pride and envy. And yes, a lot of people assume that Subaru is envy, and so I guess, yes, if Pandora is of vanity/pride, that would technically cover all of the archbishops. Again, assuming that Pandora is an archbishop and not the actual witch of vanity herself. So yeah, we kind of have an idea of who everybody is, but there's still like these 2 little wild cards that we really haven't figured out. And again, we're still leaving the door open to there being both a pride and a vanity, and that the vanity part wasn't just sort of a mix-up in translation or whatever. But we'll see. I don't want answers, by the way, in the comments down below if any of this stuff has been revealed. This is anime-only perspective and my thoughts on it. I'll get to the light novels later. I'll read the light novels later, and then I can dig in that stuff and go, holy crap, they actually revealed it 5 episodes ago, or 5 volumes ago, and they just didn't cover it. Because obviously, again, we're getting a lot of stuff in these shorts that weren't in the original adaptation to begin with. So, anyways, now we're done with the mirrors. Now we're done with the first second of the damn short. Let's get into the rest of it. The rest of it is kind of straightforward for the most part. Again, you do have in the middle, we have Wrath, and Sirius, and she is just flipping out about the loss of Petelgeuse. Now, keep in mind, my speculation around what happens in this short is strictly based on the translation I was able to get. There could be some stuff lost in translation here. In the translation that I got, it's not an official translation, it's just a fan translation. So if I go crazy with something in here and it's like, no, that's not actually what they said, you'll just have to forgive me. But yeah. Now, let's get the others out of the way. At some point, we do have Regulus shows up. For the most part, Regulus is pretty much just kind of commenting on the fact that she's wasting her tears and why does she keep mumbling and crying over this guy? Why are you so sad about him? At some point, he makes some passing comment like he typically does about, do you know that when you cry so much, it's almost like taking the sadness from other people? Are you robbing me of my rights? As usual with Regulus, like, you're taking my rights away. He's like just like this conspiracy theory guy. We're gonna turn Regulus in like the conspiracy theory guy. Everybody's after me kind of person, and he just kind of got squawking about that. Capella was interesting because yes, she's obviously more so kind of laughing at the whole situation. You know, doing this whole thing is kind of worthless. You have no value in your tears. Don't ignore me. I will kill him. Oh wait, he's already dead. But additionally, they're kind of also highlighting the fact that we kind of seen a sense of it when we seen Regulus briefly talking to one of those mirrors, and Amelia kind of overheard it. The two of them don't seem to like each other. I'm assuming the one that was on the call right there was Capella. They don't seem to like each other, which makes sense because they both are very greedy people. Putting aside the greed aspect, which yes, Regulus is the Archbishop of Greed. Putting that aside, they're both kind of greedy people. Lust and Regulus, they seem like they want everything to come to them. They want everything, and so they technically would bump heads. The two of them could possibly, through who they desire, could cause problems between each other. So they don't seem to like each other. And then the last one we had was, of course, Roy, and Roy the entire time kind of talking about, yeah, I can kind of get what you mean. You know, whenever I have a meal that I want and somebody takes it away, it sucks. And additionally, yes, I wouldn't have eaten Petelgeuse. Don't worry, I wouldn't have eaten him. But also, yeah, talking about the fact that, I get you because, it sucks because it's an expensive, even if it's an expensive meal, which I think kind of correlates the idea of no matter how valuable Petelgeuse was to you, he's rotted, so I wouldn't, don't want to eat it kind of thing. But outside of that, there was one last kind of big reveal, putting aside all of this kind of chatter back and forth with, again, her kind of mourning this whole situation, her being frustrated by the fact that nobody else seems to care. None of the other archbishops, nobody else in our group, nobody else that knows Petelgeuse cares that he's dead. They all seem to have moved on, which, yeah, I can kind of get from her plight is the idea that you're all supposed to be comrades, and it doesn't seem like anybody cares. Nobody cares that he's dead, except for Sirius. Now, yes, this gets into my ongoing theory that I've had around Sirius, which is that I'm, at this point, 98% sure that it's Fortuna. That, again, the same hairstyle, she's obsessed with Petelgeuse, and yes, seems to have some sort of thing with Amelia. The moment she's seen Amelia, she went after Amelia. And that all seems, for me, kind of correlating to the concept of her being Fortuna. That the moment that she became an archbishop, she kind of lost herself. And we got a sense for that. Our prime example of a conversion to archbishop from a person is Petelgeuse. When Petelgeuse, because we had Sloth for the longest time, he was super crazy, but we had the reverse effect where we met Petelgeuse first, and then later on, we met the real Petelgeuse. We met his original self, the one that was before he became an archbishop. These little looks in the past that we did with Amelia, that he was actually a cool dude. He was a cool guy. He was a nice dude. He was obviously in love with Fortuna. He was a good kind of a papa figure for a little brief moment there to Amelia. They had fun together, and then at some point, Pandora and Regulus show up. He lets out Sloth. It goes crazy, or at least that little aspect comes out, takes control of him. He goes crazy. He's fighting. And then he supposedly kills Fortuna. But again, I have a theory, the possibility that because Pandora seems to be able to sort of adjust reality in a way, like what she did with Regulus, saying, you're back at your harem, and he just disappears. And it's almost like he was never there. Like the craters and everything disappears. It's like he never existed there. It's almost like she rewrites the story itself. But during the fight between Fortuna and then later on Petelgeuse joining in, Pandora pretty much makes them see things that weren't there. She makes Petelgeuse basically attack what he thinks is Pandora, and it ends up being Fortuna. Now, yes, Fortuna sits there, bleeds out, Pandora comes over, takes Petelgeuse, and they walk away together, and that's the assumption that they walked away together, and she essentially appointed him to become the Archbishop, or brought him to somebody that would do that. But what's the chances that he never killed Fortuna? She was never dead. But now after watching this short, it makes me believe that she did technically die, and that Petelgeuse revived her, brought her back from the dead, made her into a zombie, something. Because at the very end of this short, she says, "Wait for me. Like you lifted me up from hell, ? I'll bring you back someday. because you're my lovely, lovely darling. This girl basically is stating right here, if it's not just, riddles and rhymes and whatnot, if it's not symbolic in some way, if it's actually literal, she's saying, if this is Fortuna, Petelgeuse brought me out the depths of hell. He revived me. He brought me back to life. Now, it could again be the idea of saying, well, I was in a dark place at the time, and he came along and he saved me from my darkness. It could be literal, that she was dead, in hell, rotting away, and he revived me, brought me back from the dead. And I want to repay him, so I'm going to revive him from the dead, just like he did me. Question mark. Question mark. Again, this could be figuratively, but I think it might be possibly tilting the hand towards literally, that he revived me from the dead, and then she became so devoted to him. Now, it could be in the idea that she's not necessarily the soul of Fortuna has been brought back. It could be simply just her body. Fortuna, if they have a concept of spirits and souls in this world, it could be the idea that Fortuna died, passed on, rebirthed, or whatever, but her body remained, and Petelgeuse, maybe after becoming Archbishop, came back there, and her rotting body was there, and he brought her back. And it's just her body, her brain, her tissue, her memories, but not her actual self. But they could technically get into that stuff. But that was a big thing that stuck out to me. I think it was like one of the aspects where when I watched this, I'm like, yeah, everything kind of lines up. But that little last statement kind of went. But it was the same. Honestly, it was the same with the first one that I actually covered. The first break time that I covered, where I realized, holy crap, they got skipped content in these things, was that moment where we seen Al and he's talking to Subaru, and he's literally revealing that he's an isekai as well. And yes, also notes the fact that in that last little comment, he knows Beatrice. He knows Beatrice. He's very familiar with Beatrice. These little small little comments that are made in these things that just jump out at me. But anyhow, that's pretty much what I saw in this little kind of break time. As per usual, I am checking the actual channel on Katakawa on YouTube. That's where they release these. Checking it every single week to see the actual release of the episode. Typically, there's somebody in the comments that will do all the translations, and I'm throwing the translation subtitles onto the actual episode and putting them up on my Twitter account. So go to x.com/otakuspirited, ED at the end of it, and I'm posting them up there. If there's something interesting in it, I will do a video on it on the week, so keep a lookout for that. But anyhow, that's my thoughts on this little break time. Hope you guys enjoyed this little video. If you did, hit the like button down below, comment. Let me know what you think of this whole segment. Additionally, again, if you're a light novel reader, I'm not asking for answers. Otherwise, I'll go read the damn thing myself. So keep them spoiler-free, anime only. But yeah, until next time, y'all take care.